Hey Janelle, welcome. We're recording on our end. We can send it to you after, and you'll have about 15 minutes.
Thank you. Hi,
Hello,
Good
hello.
afternoon, Janelle. Hello.
how is everyone doing?
Well,
Wonderful.
thank you.
I did a little bit of research and saw that this movie was showing up in 2022 or 23. How long did the process for this film kind of take, and why didn't we get to see it sooner?
It's just kind of the life of an independent film tends to be like that. So the film was co-financed by the Adelaide Film Festival. And that was in October. So we shot it in 2022, but we had to deliver it by October 22 for that festival. So it had
Mhm.
its like, and we're from Adelaide, so we had its like hometown premiere in October 22, but it had its international premiere with South by Southwest in March 23. And then it just goes on a year of like festival life, and that's really helpful for a little film. It gives it a bit of buzz in each territory. It's for us as filmmakers, we get to like meet new people by traveling to these festivals. I went to Korea and Spain and various festivals in Australia, and so it's really helpful. But it does mean that like often there's this kind of long build up to the film getting its public release. So we released in Australia in October last year, and then this on the 16th of Feb will be its US release. So it's had a long and winding road, but super like valuable to us to be able to take the time to kind of meet audiences around the world before letting it kind of have its release.
What would both of you want to say to everyone that's going to be watching Monolith? Am I saying that right, Monolith?
Yes,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. What do you kind of want everyone to know from your perspectives?
Um, what do you got, Lil?
What have I got? I guess for me, I always just get excited by the idea and the power of narrative and the power of storytelling in whatever form, whatever medium, whether it be podcasting, whether it be, you know, just writing up like reviews in any sense or articles. You're just like, it's just amazing how people consume narrative and social media. So I don't know. I guess just how malleable the truth is something that I love what our film explores.
And I think
Yeah,
I would
thank
probably
you.
say something like, this is it's for first and foremost like a science fiction horror thriller, and it has a point of difference that it has only one actor in it, and that
Mm.
hopefully that's something that's exciting to an audience. But they shouldn't be scared off by that. That is a thing that it's we were very concerned with creating a kind of thrill ride, a really kind of fun, um, strange genre film, but putting these constraints on it to give it this kind of point of difference. So I hope that people who grew up obsessing over the X Files like I did will get a real kick out of seeing an X Files episode told in a very different way.
Yeah.
That I love that so much. So was that sort of a main inspiration, or were there different inspirations for both of you with writing and directing and kind of how you saw it visually versus how it was written?
Um, Well, yeah, the film's sort of born out of a lab that had a kind of, if you were you basically we got accepted into this lab workshop program, the producer, the writer, myself, to develop an idea for a fixed small budget. Basically, if you got through the year and you wrote the script that would get selected to go through, you knew what the budget was going to be, and it was going to be small. And so from the very jump, it was about setting ourselves a challenge of like, what can we do that will be interesting, both on a production methodology level that will allow us to make it for cheap, but also will be reflected in the theme and the ideas and the narrative of the film. And so we came up with this challenge of like, can we do like kind of an alien invasion story, a kind of X-Filesy mystery, but with one actor? That was the very birth of the idea. And then Lucy, the writer, kind of went off and came up with all these kind of pieces that would build that narrative, and make it exciting. So it was really from that genesis that the film kind of came. And then when it came to kind of translating Lucy's script to the screen, there were a couple of films I was really inspired by. There's a Denis Villeneuve film called Enemy, and obviously he did Blade Runner and June and these huge movies, but he did this really small film with Jake Gyllenhaal called Enemy, which is like this really claustrophobic strange film where the meaning is kind of just outside your fingertips. And I was really interested in that, the feeling of that film. And then there's a Michael Haneke film called Cachet, which is Haneke is a European filmmaker who always presents horrifying things in a very plain way. He's interested in like just letting abject terror happen, just like happen in front of you. And there was something about that kind of observational quality, the idea of someone, the camera almost being a kind of impartial observer that I wanted to kind of bring to the film. How about you, Lil? Did you watch a lot of that stuff, the kind of one actor films? Did you watch any of that stuff before you jumped in?
Yeah, I mean, Locke and then The Guilty, obviously, which was just, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely those two. And yeah, to read it on paper and then to have to actually act this out, which is just quite a wild experience. Like super exciting because obviously the film was birthed with constraints and written with constraints. And so it was like obviously the one location and the one actor. Reading that on paper is great, but then to actually do it and to create that intimacy with an audience and feel also super exposed at the same time where there's no turning on any other faces, any other person in front of you. So it was really great to watch Jake Gyllenhaal do it and Tom Hardy, but also how rare. I'm like, who else? What else? I'm like, there's not. The list is quite small because it's quite terrifying thing to do and to trust as well, like a filmmaker to shoot you and to shoot only you. But yeah, so watching those films was great, and obviously Enemy as well. You gave me a reference of, which was great. I haven't seen it before.
It's a strange movie. It's excellent.
You were like, wait for the end.
Yeah.
What's that?
That is a good movie. Enemy is a good movie. It is a strange movie, but it's a good movie. Like you kind of float into the story, you get lost in it.
It's also
and there's something about like they're not giving you much, but they're so in control of like how much you know, and they clearly have an understanding of what the film means and what's happening, but they shroud it in such interesting ways. And I was interested in that idea of like ambiguity and mystery that film has.
Yeah, and also having the answers aren't satisfying. You know what I mean? That's why we don't have them in life until you get to the end. You know, you don't even have it by then.
Yeah.
So,
Lily, how was your preparation, and what was it like for you working with Matt and kind of having to sort of do this by yourself? And
prep-wise, it felt like I had to, which I did, like memorize the script from start to finish because it was 15 days. And once we started, there was just sort of no coming up for air at all, or even no moments where you turn around on another person where you're like, okay, so moments where you would feel, say, insecure or feel like you didn't quite hit the mark or whatever, which happens every job, every actor has it. Then you turn around on the other person and you're like, oh, thank God, I'm off camera for a second. So I think to shoot through those moments was a very rare experience. And then to also have such a wonderful relationship with Matt and Lucy as well, and Bettina, who were just such supports. And because there was such specificity, when you're shooting it with this kind of tight shooting schedule, there's just no room to sort of not know what you're doing. So it was just super tight, super supported, yet it was birthed out of a very creative place of working with constraints. So it was like this little like tight electric hum that was a wonderful place to be vulnerable in. And basically to not overthink it. It's like even the character not having a name, it was just like kind of just locking in, shooting in chronological order and just letting it sort of unravel and being able to listen for the first time to all of these interviews and all of these stories, to be able to have that fresh. We didn't rehearse loads. There wasn't really any, we read the script like twice together and then sort of just, it became this sort of snowball effect as we got to the end. And the anticipation of shooting those final scenes you don't really get that on a job. Usually you're jumping in back and forth, but whereas there was like this level of anticipation and level of descending like to madness together.
Yeah, there's a wild difference between the takes of Lily at the end of the shoot and the beginning of the shoot. You can see this like complete shift in her, and even just how she looks, which is again a credit to Kaz Gower, our makeup artist, but also Lil. Like the two of them, they had a really great relationship too, working together and like kind of finding, and our costume designer Anana Henschke, like finding those kind of shifts in the character, and like yeah, it's quite something to watch how insane Lily got over the course of the film. She's like so in control at the start, and by the end just kind of going with the flow.
I remember by the final day of shooting, like the last scene, we were done. I was just like covered in dirt and cow feces, and then literally got in the shower and was just standing there. We completed the shoot, and my nose just started just dripping blood. I was just covered in dirt, standing there, just like. That was one of the most ridiculous experiences ever. 15 days, no time to reflect.
Were you like actually bleeding, or were you?
I think it was just just high energy, high stakes. And then, yeah, it was just a random nosebleed. No like pain or anything.
Going from the cold to the hot shower as well can do it as well, kind of. Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. That's yeah, I'm sorry that happened, Lily.
No, it was dramatic. It was dramatic till the end, especially those final few days. So
did you sort of feel a sigh of relief when you were completely finished filming, or were you just sort of, okay, I did what I was supposed to do?
Huge relief, huge relief. I think being filmed is already such a weird thing, and like, you know, you're just emoting to this camera but you're looking at someone else, but to remove someone else and do it alone, it was like I was just there was an isolation to it. There was a more exhausting loneliness in a sense. That's why it rarely happens, but definitely relieved. But so glad I did it. Just so glad to have sort of walked towards fear, which is always a great feeling once you
and for us it was just about, I mean, I think the most important thing was about supporting Lily to kind of give her the space that she needed to be able to do that, because obviously it's hard to feel alone and isolated when you've got a film crew around you. So one of the things we would do is like let Lily kind of run the set a little bit. Like we'd do all the busy work that you have to do, and the first AD would call, you know, roll sound, roll camera, and everyone would say set, and everyone's like, then it would be, we'd go silent and then let Lily do whatever she needed before the take would start. And sometimes she'd take 3 or 4 minutes and we just roll on it and just let everything keep going. And Lil would just like find a way to get into that space and then just give us a little nod. And then the first AD would whisper action and then we'd go. So just anything we could do to kind of support. We've only got one actor, so it's very precious, and you got to just you know, make sure. And she's on every frame of the film. It's like just giving her whatever she needed, and we learned that over the first like couple of days. Kind of found that together. Like, what do you need? Like, what are we gonna do? What sort of tricks can we have to kind of give you the space that you need? And I think by sort of 3 days in, we'd found it, and that was really that's the I think the most gratifying thing about directing is like finding something that can help your actor, and it's different every time, and so that's really,
language,
really,
little rituals.
I guess my last question, because I know I'm probably out of time soon, but what are both of you working on next? What's next for both of you?
We're just writing. So the Monolith team is writing another film together. We loved collaborating, the three of us, the producer Bettina and the writer Lucy Campbell and myself. Really love that thing of being all three of us there from the very start of an idea. So we're doing that again. We're writing a kind of cosmic horror film. It's bigger. It's got more than one actor, which is very exciting. It's like a small ensemble actually. So that's very early. And then I've been writing a horror film and got a couple of other things in development. So it's just early days, but it feels like what I certainly came out of Monolith with was a real love of doing that kind of that genre, like that tone was something that I really kind of enjoyed. So certainly the projects are in that kind of world for sure.
And then I just have the boring thing of saying there's a few things on the horizon but can't talk about any of them. So it's boring.
Yeah, the actor life is so intense. You got
not allowed to say anything. If you did, they would just be like, what are you doing? I'd be like, yep, cool, nothing. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, you kicked ass in this movie, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Matt. And I'm waving as usual. So
for your time.
thank you both for taking the time to talk to me, and have a great rest of your days.
Thanks so much. You too. Thanks for watching.